It's a beautiful calm morning here on Vernon Lake, and I'm just making my way north to the outlet at the Sebalhall River, which drains after a couple kilometers into the Nimpkish River. My plan for today is to see how much I can paddle of the rivers and whether it's worthwhile continuing on the Nimpkish River all the way to Was and to my next resupply near Nimpkish Lake. The shore of this lake is quite interesting. It's much more gravelly than most of the lakes I've paddled on so far, with coarse pea gravel and occasional stretches of bedrock outcrop, whereas most of the other lakes are mostly outcrop, dropping steeply into the lake. And along the shore here, there are hundreds of drowned cedar trees, and I'm not sure why they're drowning. It could have to do with all of the gravel, which would indicate that there's a lot of sediment being deposited into this lake, and the ground may be subsiding, causing the trees along the shore to drown. It could also be that the outlet is getting clogged up and that's raising the level of the lake. But these cedar trees are dying along the shore, and then many of them are falling into the water. So the bottom is just littered with the skeletons of these old trees. The cedar trees especially are quite skeletal, with their curved branches that look like ribs. The gravel beaches all along the shore here are just cratered with animal prints. I don't know if they're deer or elk. The gravel doesn't really hold a good impression, but they're not human. They're not oblong like a human footprint. They're kind of just round little craters. I had a pretty good sleep last night, and I've been sleeping better ever since Gold River because I bought some Velcro stickers to stick on my sleeping pad and my pillow to keep the pillow from sliding around. Before that, I was waking up several times each night to reposition my pillow. For a pillow, I'm using the inflatable backrest for my Packraft. It's mainly overcast this morning, but the sun is shining on some of the mountains around the lake, and there are a few patches of blue sky, so it might clear up. The mountains that I can see from the lake here are, some of them are quite intriguing. Most of them don't have any names on the maps, but they look like they would be good scrambles. They're forested lower down, but the tops are definitely alpine, and there's still snow patches higher up on some of them. In spite of their relatively low elevation, they're only about 1,300 to 1,500 meters tall, so that goes to show how much snow falls here in the winter. I haven't seen any other boats or people today. There is a Forest Service campsite at the north end of the lake where I'm heading, and it'll be interesting to see if there's anyone there. It's Monday today, and this is pretty remote, so there may or may not be some campers. I'm glad I'm paddling today because my legs were getting quite sore after the past couple of days of road walking. Walking on the road is easy, and it's easy to cover 2 or 3 times the distance that I would cover in the mountains or bushwhacking. But all that repetitive motion, I guess, is just really hard on my legs. I'm not used to it. Maybe after another few weeks, I would be able to just go and go without feeling any ill effects. But as it is, my calves were starting to seize up and feel like they were cramping. So it's nice to just sit here and use completely different muscles to propel myself along. And my average speed when paddling is almost exactly the same as walking on a road. We'll see how the river goes. It has the potential to be either faster because I'll be going with the flow, or slower because I'll have to get out and lift over obstacles and scout ahead if there are rapids, and those things could really slow me down. It'll really just depend on the water level and how much wood is in the river and what other obstacles there are. I've marked on my GPS all the locations of rapids and questionable areas that I could see on the satellite imagery, so I'll be careful to pay attention to those. But today should be pretty tame, other than some log jams which I could see on the satellite imagery. I'll probably have to walk around several of those. It's exciting though. I haven't really done much river paddling on this trip, other than on the Nitnat River, which barely counts because there was so little water flowing. I'm entering the mouth of the river now. It's not an abrupt change, it's just that the lake narrows gradually, and it's not really noticeable, but I looked down and saw a couple of weeds that are kind of bending forward, so there must be a bit of current here. The wind is basically gone, and little fish are jumping. It's pretty picturesque. Very quiet here too, and peaceful. There were several people in the campground, but they were going about their business quietly, and I just saw one person in a canoe as I paddled by. I can see a bridge up ahead and some obstacles in the river. I'm not sure what they are, whether they're logs or rocks. As I get closer, I'll assess things. The bottom here is getting to look more like a river bottom with cobbles and pebbles. And it's getting shallower, and there are a few little indications of current on the surface. Weak little whirlpools. So I'm looking down from the mouth of the Sebalhall River. I can see the bridge, and it looks fairly straightforward. There's a bit of a sweeper right there, but I can easily get around it. And that's about as far as I can see, so I'll just pull over when I need to scout some more. Well, with a combination of paddling and lifting and portaging and lining, I've made it to the confluence of the Sebalhall River and the Nimpkish River. It's hard to say if it's going to be any easier going with more water. There's lots of wood up there where I came from, and it remains to be seen what's downstream, but I'm playing it safe, scouting every corner that I can't see around, and it could be a slow day. We'll see. It's beautiful though. The sun is out and the wind is fairly light most of the time. I don't mind walking through the water. It's not too cold and the air is not too cold either, so it's a nice day of exploring. Well, I'm happy to say that this is a really beautiful paddle so far. It's a bit of work to get around the log jams and the sweepers and strainers, but now that the rivers have joined and I'm paddling in the Nimpkish, seems to be less of that. So hopefully that'll continue to decrease and the fun will continue to increase. This is a beautifully serene section of river. It goes on like this for about 1.5 kilometers. It's easy paddling with the current behind me. The headwind is non-existent right now. Fantastic. I've reached a log jam that spans the whole river and extends back into the forest as well. So it might be a challenge finding a way around this. My plan is to just hop up onto these logs and take a look and probably throw my backpack on and carry the Packraft either through the bush over there or just over the logs. The river loops around that way, so if I can make a beeline that way, it's probably the easiest way, but we'll see. Well, I made it off the river. That's the log jam there behind me, and I'm into the alders and willows, and the river is actually flowing through here. It's probably difficult to see on camera, but this is a little stream, and there's another one coming through there, another one over there. Looks like the log jam is forcing the water into the forest. So I'm gonna try and pick my way through to the other side of the log jam. There are some freshly gnawed alders here, and some older ones too. So there's a beaver about. I wonder if it's responsible for the giant dam here. So I'm back out of the forest now. It was getting extremely thick, too thick to carry an inflated packraft through. So I'm walking on the logs, and there are some gravel sections exposed that are much easier. And I'm kind of throwing the packraft ahead of me and then following it as best I can. Well, I made it past the log jam up there, but now there's one right there. So I looked at the satellite imagery, and if things haven't changed too much, I should be able to make my way over these logs and find a gravel bar within not too far. So I'm gonna give that a try. I just need to paddle across the channel here. There are these beautiful gravel bars, so whenever I decide to stop for the night, I'll be able to camp pretty much anywhere I want. River pushing into a log jam and a questionable route around, so I'm taking the gravel bar. This looks much better below the jam. Oh, good progress today. I've already gone 20 kilometers, and it's not even 3 p.m. I think. So not too slow on the river. Well, I could paddle this one no problem, but I can't really tell what's over there. It looks to be about a 2-meter drop, and it's just not worth risking what it might do to me. So I'm gonna just portage around this corner and then take a look down there and probably just walk to the next pool. Kind of hard to see this rapid up ahead, so I was gonna scout it, but I think it'll take just as long to portage it as to scout it, so I'm gonna just carry everything around. That was a big bald eagle. Well, I just paddled that boulder garden there. You probably can't really see it, but it was pretty fun. I got wet. I should have filmed it, but I didn't decide to go for it until I was right above it, and then I forgot about filming. So That was enjoyable, but this little beach might be the last tentable gravel bar for a while. So I think I might stay here tonight. It's only about 6 o'clock, but my stuff got pretty wet from the dew this morning, my tent and my sleeping bag. So I'd like to give them a chance to dry out before I go to bed. And that might be difficult right beside a river. So I'm gonna stop here. It's not the best spot in the world, but I'll make do.